Hey y'all, this video will introduce you to our discussion forum posts. Um, if you want to follow along with this PowerPoint, it is available under course content / schedule and then under the week 1 folder. You write two different types of posts, your primary posts and secondary. We're talking about primary posts first. They're going to be due on Wednesdays, and you'll have the entire weekend before Wednesday to write these. I will post questions by Friday on the week previous. So, for example, for your first primary post will be due the second week of class. The Friday before that, you will have your questions posted online. So you need to post by Wednesdays. These need to be 250 words or more. That's generally about one double-spaced page in a word processing software. I would suggest that you draft these and revise them in some kind of word processing software, either Microsoft Word, or if you don't have a real computer, Pages, I guess. And I suggest you do that because word processors allow you to revise. I think it makes students more likely to revise. You can use their spell check tools, etc. Because these posts need to be more or less formal. And what I mean by that is they have to be focused. They need to have some kind of central argument, and they need to incorporate evidence. But you can be less formal insofar as you can use personal pronouns if you want. You can use I. You can use language like I believe this to be true if you so desire. So it doesn't have to be like necessarily like one of the more formal papers you might have written in 101, 102, 105, or in many of your other classes. I mean for these posts to be generative. So I want you to explore the text. I want you to play around with new ideas and feel encouraged to not necessarily take risks, but to write and think in a way that kind of pushes yourself to deal with these texts in ways that you might not have before. So they need to incorporate evidence. And what I mean by that is you have to draw quotes from the text, but because these are comics, and comics make meaning at least 50% through their images, then you're going to have to incorporate images. And you can do that by taking a photo of the panel that you want to talk about and uploading that with your post. You can describe what an image looks like. What does a particular character's face look like in this moment? What do the colors tell you? Anything that's going to help you make your argument and serve as evidence for that argument, right? Because these posts need to be careful and they need to advance a new argument. And I don't mean new to the world necessarily, but definitely new to the class. So as you write your post, make sure you read what's already in the discussion forum so you don't say the same thing someone else did. Because, as our next page will show us, that's a way to do poorly on your posts, right? If you make a similar point as others have already made. So it can be similar to a certain extent, but it needs to be yours. It needs to be new. It needs to be different enough that it can count as yours and not as you saying the same thing as someone else, right? So these need to be submitted on time. There's only 2 days between Wednesday and Friday unless they change the calendar. So people need time to be able to respond to you. If they don't show a ton of effort, if they don't show a ton of thought, if they're sloppy, if it's obvious you haven't revised them at all, these are all ways that you can do poorly on them. And the chief among them, if they're nasty or attacking two other people. Just don't do that. We don't need that in the class. We don't need that in life. There's plenty of that if you turn on the news. So here's a sample primary post that was drawn from a class I taught before. It's about a text called Day Tripper by Fabio Moon and Gabrielle Ba, two Brazilian twins. And the text is a really fascinating story about a character named Braz de Olivia Domingues, who is an obituary writer and later on in the novel becomes a novelist himself. But the book's conceit is that in each of its chapters, Braz dies at the end of every chapter in a different way. And then the next chapter, he's alive again and then dies a different way. So it's like a Groundhog Day, but with murders. So what I like about this particular author is she says, I'll just use the feminine pronouns because why not? I think this represents the idea that you never know what which moment or what moment will be your last. So live like it is, a kind of comic YOLO. So as Braz says to his son, life is like a book, son. You'll see she draws evidence from the text. She draws the quote here. She makes a claim. I think this book represents the idea that you should live life to the fullest, basically, and provides a quote in support of that. I think that's great. Now, as a reader and as someone grading this, I would like to, in here, right after this quote, to get some more unpacking analysis of why that quote means what this writer thinks it means. Because you'll see the sentence that follows, I also think that each death could be representing parts of ourselves. So the next sentence actually starts what could be another blog post, discussion post. It starts a new argument, when what I think we need here is more unpacking of this quote. Because to me, if you continue reading, no book is complete without its end. And once you get there, only when you read the last words will you see how good the book is. It feels real. That, to me, is not necessarily YOLO. That's more like I get to the end of my life and I look back on it and come to a different understanding, come to appreciate its parts, come to appreciate it as in its entirety. I don't necessarily think that that's what she's saying up here, although it could be if she made that argument more forceful with her analysis. Some other things I like about this: it's the right length. This is a little over 300 words. If you read it, you can see that there are some kind of usage errors throughout, but that's okay. You don't have to be perfect with these things. None of our writing is ever perfect, to be honest. So it's a good faith effort. It shows some research. Some quote integration. I would like to see more of that. I would like to see some attention to the visuals of the comic. So there's some things I think this does particularly well. There's some things that this writer could continue to work on. So to move to your secondary posts, these need to be posted by Friday. They need to be 150 or more words, and they need to be meaningful. If you just say, thanks, hadn't thought about it in that way before, that is utterly useless, right? That doesn't show that you've meaningfully engaged with that person's ideas. Think about what they have to say. Think about it hard, and then write in response on the logical implications of their ideas. And you can feel free to disagree, as this writer does. So this is the same person as earlier, responding to a response. So let's see, she starts, hi, X. Now, it wasn't X, not Professor X. We didn't have X-Men gracing our presence. Thank you so much for your comment on my primary post. Wonderful. Acknowledging the effort that someone else went to. I can see how our ideas are similar. Great. Noting the similarities. I agree with you on this part, and then you'll see this transition word, but, however, this hinge word, she's swinging and saying, I also believe that the first chapter wants to emphasize parents more than randomness, etc., etc., etc. She also used the word randomnicity, which isn't real, but that's okay. What I like about this is that she's building on this person's ideas. Most academic writing does that. It says, yes, and, or yes, but. It acknowledges what the other person did that was smart and adds to it, yes, and. Or it acknowledges what the other person said smart, the good things about it, but then also throws in a potential conflict. And you'll see that she does that throughout this response. She also incorporates a short quote. So even in her secondary post, she's returning to the text. This is magnificent, right? This secondary post, in my opinion, is a little bit better than even the primary post. And I think that what makes it better is the sincerity with which she deals with the thinking that the other poster gave to her thoughts. So I want the discussion forum to be a sincere exchange of ideas. I want us to be appreciative for other people's time and effort, and to really take some time and effort to think through the implications of their ideas. All right, this video is getting a little long. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a beautiful day.